So let's talk about those causes and why maybe we're having all these troubles in our society today and why we spend billions in healthcare and nobody ever gets better. Failure to eliminate a pathogen is the first reason to have chronic inflammation. So if you're harboring tuberculosis, some sort of low-grade fungal infection, some sort of spore, some sort of yeast infection, parasites that are long-term, and viruses. So for instance, CMV, EBV, all of these long-term viruses that just sort of hang out and wait and then manifest under times of stress. Herpes is a perfect example. People have herpes, varicella, or like a chickenpox type of a virus, and then under times of stress, a sore will pop out, or you'll get the shingles. So that's one way to get chronic inflammation. Exposure to irritants, environmental irritants, pollution, the air we breathe, the benzene in the air, the lead in the water, the other heavy metals in the water, radiation, poor diet, the primary cause, in my opinion, in our society. Autoimmune disorders. So if you've developed rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, MS, whatever autoimmune disease you have, mixed connective tissue disease of unknown significance. It's my personal favorite because it basically means we have no idea. We just know you're autoimmune. You're constantly attacking yourself. You're under friendly fire all day long, every day. Mitochondrial failure, another primary cause of all of this, I think. So the mitochondria, and we're going to review it in a future, is the engine to the cell. If that fails, not only do you not produce the correct energy and signaling molecules for the rest of the cell to function properly, but you cause reactive oxygen species and all of those damage-associated molecular patterns. So mitochondrial failure is a big deal that you don't want to have. And then just generally increase reactive oxygen species because you don't have enough antioxidants on board. So all of these oxidative molecules are running around attacking things and doing what? Making these molecular patterns that are recognized as badness, inducing inflammation. AGEs, which is not age like you think of, it's advanced glycation end products. So these are when sugar molecules from having an excess energy state or hyperglycemia attach to free proteins and create a monster protein, and that's an irreversible once it gets to that point of the advanced glycation end product. Those monster proteins damage DNA, damage cell membranes, attack proteins, change receptors, and induce the damage-associated molecular pattern. There's actually receptors for these AGEs called RAGEs, receptor for advanced glycation end products, that also induce inflammation and genetic changes that damage self. And AGEs are all primarily from diet, honestly, dietary sources, and then also if you're hyperglycemic, you make your own. One age that you may be familiar with is the HbA1c. So that is a marker of glycation of red blood cells. They turn over about every 120 days. So the A1c is a way to measure the hyperglycemic state, the average for the past 3 months, because you can measure how many of these sugar molecules glycated the proteins in the red blood cell. So it's all badness. You don't want that. Uric acid levels. If you have high uric acid levels, you're constantly inflamed. If you're running around with oxidized LDL or low density lipoprotein, LDL in and of itself is not a bad thing. You have to have it. It's how you transport free fatty acids around. If it gets oxidized, that is really bad. Or if you get too much of it, some doctors will say that's terrible. Some doctors and a lot of science is now saying that high LDL is not really terrible in terms of long-term morbidity and mortality relative to the total cholesterol to HDL ratio. But oxidized LDL is bad. Homocysteine, another marker of inflammation. So there's all kind of systemic reasons, dietary, environmental, just any kind of exposure, either endogenous or exogenous, that can cause chronic low-grade inflammation.